Hi everyone, welcome to chapter 18. Chapter 18 is about growth and development. For this chapter, there's a lot of things that you probably are familiar with the terminology, but maybe this chapter will help you put a lot of things together. It's really a huge topic, and to give it one chapter in the book just doesn't quite seem like enough, but we'll work through it. So let's talk about growth and development. So what's the difference between the two? Well, growth is an increase in body weight until mature size is reached. Just imagine growth. Maybe some of you, when you were little kids, you stood up on the wall and your mom or dad made a little mark on the wall to show how tall you were. So that's growth. How tall you are, or how an animal, like when you have your project animals and the teacher comes out and weighs them. So an increase in body weight. Development, on the other hand, is changes in body shape and form. So development sometimes can be related to sexual maturity, especially in animals. So development in bulls, for example, they get that thicker neck and a crestiness in the back of their neck. Same with really all male animals do that. But that would be development. So prenatal development in livestock, that's my abbreviation for livestock right there. The term for pregnancy in livestock, we call that gestation. And I will go over the gestation length of various species here in another slide. And I think it's important that you know that. And the three phases of prenatal life, you have the sex cells, which are the sperm and the egg. And remember, those each carry a half a complement of DNA. And when those two, when the sperm fertilizes the egg, you have the beginning of embryonic development, and that is the embryo. And then as the embryo enlarges and attaches to the lining of the uterus and begins growing, then that is the fetus. So as far as gestation lengths go for various livestock species, I think you should know this, given it's an animal science class. Cattle are pregnant about 9 months, which averages about 283 days. And, really with cattle, because they're pregnant for a long time, they're kind of pregnant the same amount of time a human is. So it's not uncommon for cattle to calve 2 weeks early, or maybe a week later beyond that 283 days. Sheep and goats, because their gestation length is shorter, only 5 months, they pretty much are gonna lamb or kid right around that 145 day length. Bigger sheep closer to 150, and smaller breeds like maybe South Downs less than 145 days. And then with swine, you have the old saying, it's 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days. If you add all that up, that's roughly 115 days. And then horses are pregnant for almost a year, 11 months. And if a horse is bred to a donkey and is carrying a mule for a baby, then I believe the horse is pregnant for 12 months. Little known fact. So after gestation, of course, is the term parturition. Parturition is a term in livestock used for giving birth. And the process of giving birth in livestock and in, I think, all mammals is the actual beginning of the process of uterine contractions, and the actual expulsion of the baby is caused by the stretch receptors in the uterine muscles. So the uterus grows bigger and bigger with the baby inside it, and finally those muscles reach their maximum, hopefully at the appropriate date, and those stretch receptors, which are like sensors in the muscle, send information to the body, which then produces the hormone oxytocin. And oxytocin is responsible for uterine contractions. And I know there's much more, it's much more complicated than that. But if you remember that oxytocin is what causes uterine contractions, that might help you someday, because sometimes we do have to, we do use this as a hormone. Sometimes we have to give to livestock if they're having trouble not having contractions. So here's a picture of a sheep at school having a baby. And if we look at it, there's some really good stages. And these are true for sheep and goats and cattle. So all the ruminants kind of look the same when they're having a baby. So first this ewe was very restless, and she's very interested in these little babies over here because there's some baby lambs in the other pen. So she's bowing to them, she's pawing the ground, and she may lay down and push a little bit, have some contractions. And as she does that, she expels this long strand of mucus right here. And that mucus is called the cervical plug. And once that cervical plug melts, that begins the opening of the dilation of the cervix. So then she can start to push the lamb out. So there's no tissue here. It's just a big gob of mucus. And it might be kind of pink or yellow in color, but it's perfectly normal. If you see that, you know the birthing process is just beginning. Then after about 15-20 minutes, could be a tiny bit longer, but not too much longer than that, you're going to see this is like a water bag, and that water bag is the amniotic sac, and it is being pushed out. Sometimes it breaks inside the ewe, and it's a big push of water, and that's the water breaking. So this water bag tells you that the lamb is imminently about to be born. If the lamb isn't born within, you don't see the feet protruding and the ewe isn't pushing, then sometimes you have to assist, especially with sheep and goats. They really are dependent on humans to assist in birthing, especially with multiple births. Here's a picture, blurry, my bad photography skills, of a ewe. You can see the same ewe. She's laying down. She's in very strong labor right now. She's pushing the baby, and so the water has broke, and this water bag will break as the ewe is walking or as she lays down, and that also triggers a very strong instinctive behavior to look for her baby. So now she's bang and she's looking for a baby. Where's my baby? Where's my baby? I smell it, even though it's not born yet. And then you can see the little feet here, and that is perfectly normal. Resting on top of the feet, coming out of the vulva, is the baby lamb's nose. So the baby is born in kind of a diving position, and that is 100% normal. If you want to know more about this, you should take sheep science in the spring. I can teach you all about it. And then just so happens that we were there, so we will oftentimes assist the ewe having her baby. So we grab a hold of the feet with my left hand and the lamb's head with my right, and just gently pull as the ewe is pushing the baby out. So the contractions push the baby out. But once you get the head out and the shoulders, that lamb is going to come out fairly easily. And it's the same with cattle. With cattle, with these big show steers, sometimes they actually get locked at their hips because we're breeding them for such width. That can be an issue. But we're going to pull that lamb out. Sure enough, here's the lamb coming out. Here's its back, its head, its front legs, and the fetal membranes are around the lamb still. As you pull the lamb out, the umbilical cord will break, and that stops the oxygen, the oxygenated blood flowing to the lamb, and the lamb then is triggered to breathe. So we'll usually pull the lamb out and put it in front of the mom, and the mom will be licking the baby. So we did this 3 times because she had triplets, and a normal amount of blood is perfectly common. And this is not a stream of blood. It's actually some of the placental membranes that would form the afterbirth is being passed. So she will lick her babies dry, and at that time of licking her babies is when she is bonding to her babies. And this ewe successfully raised all 3 of those babies. Well, that was the fun part. Here's the more knowledge-oriented part. So this is a very interesting graph, and it's the growth of a fetal calf. And you can see the length of the calf, how long. So the length is on the y-axis over here. And you can see that the calf, really the growth of the calf is pretty slow in the beginning. And then as far as the weight gain of the calf, it's very dramatic. And I wanted to bring your attention to the fact that this dramatic growth starts at about the 6th month. And then the growth of the fetus is very rapid. So in the first, what we call trimester, because we break it into 3 months, it's just like a human. So the first trimester, the cow barely looks pregnant. She doesn't have a big swollen belly. That baby is deep inside of her and just the cells are slowly dividing. As she goes along a little farther, she starts to develop a little bit of a belly, but not much. In the last trimester, the last 3 months of her gestation, the fetus grows very rapidly. And the implications for this are very important because a cow is gaining a lot of weight. And in order for that cow to gain that calf weight, she has to have very good nutrition. So this is that pregnant cow. And in all pregnant animals, the mom will sacrifice some of her own body tissues to grow that fetus. We don't want that to happen. We want to make sure that cow or that ewe or doe or whatever animal it is getting adequate nutrition during that last trimester. No, we don't want them too fat, but we want them to have a good amount of nutrition because that is when the baby grows the fastest. So this is a picture of embryonic development in a chicken. Chickens are fascinating because you can watch the embryonic growth develop by the day. So a chicken egg only takes 21 days to hatch. So every day something new develops. And because a chicken is kind of a self-contained system, it's like its own little uterus. You can see the membranes develop. The yolk transforms from, something that looks like sunny side up for breakfast to something that becomes attached to an embryonic chick. So embryonic development in chickens has been very well mapped out and very well documented. So now we're going to go over the basic anatomy and physiology very briefly. We're going to talk about different body systems. And to start with, we have to talk about body tissues. Tissues are a group of cells that have similar function. So the primary types of tissues in the body is muscle tissue, your muscles, nerves, your brain, connective tissue, and epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue is your skin. So that is tissues. And then if we talk about a broader group, that would be organs. Organs are groups of tissues that perform various functions. So an example of a specialized type of muscle tissue would be the uterus. That is a muscle, and it is a group of cells that basically house the developing embryo. The liver and the brain are all organs, so they all perform specific functions. A system is a group of organs that function together. So you know this, you learned this back in 8th grade. So there's a reproductive system, the digestive system, the endocrine system, the respiratory system. So the systems are groups of organs that function together. So let's talk about some of the systems. So the first one is the skeletal system. Obviously, the skeletal system has a lot of functions, but one of the primary functions is to protect the vital organs. So if you might imagine, your ribs, your rib cage, and an animal's rib cage protects your heart and lungs. Your pelvis not only assists with you standing upright and walking, but it also kind of surrounds the reproductive organs. And the skeletal system in mammals is the site of red blood cell formation. So that's where your red blood cells are made, in your skeletal system, inside your bone marrow. Wait, I think that's your white blood cells. I'm going to move on. The skeletal system of a horse. I think we have a skeletal system of a horse over on East Campus for the vet tech students. So all the bones, and those of you who are vet tech interested in becoming a veterinarian, you will have to learn all the bones in all the mammals' bodies. But I'm sure that'll be easy for you because you love learning so much. The next one is the skeletal system of a chicken. Chickens have hollow bones. Their bones are hollow because their body is adapted to flight. So a bird's skeletal system is very lightweight and compared to the skeletal bones of, say, a rabbit or an animal that would be similar size. The skeleton itself would be a lot heavier. So I'm going to stop here, and I will end this recording, and then I'm going to start another one for the other body systems we're going to talk about. Okay, I will see you in a minute.